Hello. Today we will begin Module 4. So the Module 4 is going to teach you how to plan your research draft, organize your arguments based on your findings from the data. So today's subunit is on planning and drafting your research. So first you begin with planning. How to plan your research draft. We talked about it a little bit before in Module 1, that know who your readers are while you are doing your research. So when you know your readers, you know how to write your research, what kind of ethos or character you want to project on your research. Once you know that, you will be able to write up more fluidly and you can address the need of your readers better. So next, you sketch your questions from the research problem. And once you have the data analysis done, you can answer these research questions in 2 or 3 sentences. Sketch the reason and evidence supporting your claim. You are claiming something in your research while you are answering those research questions, and try to add a sentence or 2 showing why you are claiming something. Because if you claim, say, the rainfall in Huntsville, Alabama is the key cause of traffic-related accidents, then you are making that claim, but you don't know whether it's true or not. But if you have analyzed some data, for example, that there are more number of accidents and on the rainy day, and whether you have run a regression model or you have done a correlation study, you can say that my correlational study shows this, but I may need to gather more evidence or run a predictive model to see whether rainfall is really causing these accidents. Or if you have a bunch of other variables and you want to run a linear regression model or something, and you see that, okay, the number of accidents are really can be predicted by the amount of rainfall, then, there you go. You have rainfall as one of the key predictors of accident if it is significant, with a p-value less than 0.5 in your regression model. So you are actually putting some evidence to support your claim by doing that. In the end, you respond to the questions, alternative, and objections that your readers may raise. How do you do that? I talked about it a little bit before, that apprehending what readers may ask or what the readers may contend about your research is a way to do successful research. Because if you are presenting your research to an academic community, and if you are saying that, my correlational study about traffic and rainfall is actually can be used to state that the rainfall is actually causing these accidents, then you might not be wrong, but you can fall into the trap of making an extra claim that the rainfall is causing the accident. It might be the road conditions are actually causing the accidents, and the rainfall is just something that, can be correlated, but it might not be actually causing the accidents. So a way to prove that the rainfall is actually one of the key cause of this accident, to build a carefully designed predictive model where you add the different variables that might be the cause for accidents, and you get this variable from a literature review, and you then claim that, okay, by adding these variables in my predictive model, I can see that rainfall is causing these accidents because it's still significant when I'm adding a bunch of other variables that may cause accident in the regression model. So what you are doing here, you are actually apprehending what a learned reader or an expert may question when they see your claims. So you are actually able to provide these reasons and evidence in advance so that they do not raise any objection or they do not contain the claim of your research. Although that being said, when you send your papers to your reviewers, be it your teacher or be it in any journal for review, you may still get some questions, and those questions are really a way to improve your research in the next level if you are able to answer them. So having said that, now you have got a whole map of steps, what you need to do to draft or create an initial draft of your research. Once you have the draft ready, what you are going to do is identify the key concepts. So what do we mean by the key concepts? So, you are using some words in your research that are terms or some concepts that are coming up multiple times. For example, employment, job satisfaction, socioeconomics, or Asian immigrants, or cross-cultural, length of residence, prior economic level, and many such terms. So these terms can either be presented as it is, and that can come up multiple times, and you assume that the readers will know them because they are academicians, or they are learned, or they are experts in the field. And at the same time, you have to keep in mind that your research, although it's targeted to an academic journal, targeted for an academic reader, yet there might be some readers who want to gain some insight from your research, and they might not be completely aware of all the jargons and terms that you are using all the time. Sometimes even learned readers can get confused. So it's a very good idea to identify the concepts that you want readers to get familiarized with and run through different parts of the paper. And you want to circle them and see the terms coming multiple times, and then you want to pull those terms and identify those terms and write it under key concepts of your paper, and make sure that you have explained them, expressed those at least 5 words or concepts on your paper. Also, it might be an interesting thing to keep in mind that you will not be introducing too many key concepts on paper. So if you do that, then that might be like either becoming redundant, some of the terms, or you are not carefully using the idea of key concepts. The next is the introduction of a research, which is so important because a reader who is going to read your research would understand the value of your research by reading your introduction, because they might not have enough time to read through your whole research. So it's a very good idea to have a common structure that consists of contextualizing background, where you introduce the readers to the research context. Then a statement of the problem. Basically, you state the research problem to the reader, what you are trying to solve. And then in the end, you add a response to the problem that your research shows this. So if you are able to summarize these three elements of your research in the introduction, then it would add more value to your research and to the reader. Second is the body of your paper, which contains all the details. So, like we already discussed in the planning phase, we are sketching what needs to go where. So here, you need to sketch the background and define the terms. And then you would like to create a page for each major section of your paper. Usually, a paper or an academic paper would have introduction, literature review, data collection, research method, results and analysis, discussion, and conclusion. So in the introduction, you are giving the introduction to the problem, contextualizing it, and then stating the research problem, and also giving a brief understanding of your response to the research problem. We have already discussed that literature review is a systematic analysis of the area of research, of all the academic journals and papers. Then you show how you have collected your data, what data you have used. In the research method section, you tell them what type of scientific or method, a qualitative research method you have used, quantitative or qualitative methods you have used. And then in the results section, you actually disclose all the results through charts, maps. So basically, you are giving all the evidence to your research and showing that you have done all the analysis to answer the questions of the research through your evidence. In the end, you are engaging the readers in a discussion where you are apprehending some problems or some contention that can come from the readers, and you are discussing those in advance. And the conclusion is where you are briefly stating the results of your research and how it connects to your original research questions or methods. And sometimes you can also talk about your future research agenda to address some of the limitations of the research. Then, once you are done adding pages for major section, you would be creating subsections to each section. So why do we need these subsections to each section? We need the subsection because if you have a huge paragraph or a huge body of work without any division or without, thematically organizing, without any thematic organization, people can get lost. So it's a really good idea to have subsections if you have these major sections of your paper crafted out. Then finally, you need to order these sections, or your sections are kind of in order if you follow this roadmap that I have given you. And then you are going to find a more suitable order when you are rearranging this subsection so that the paper reads as a coherent whole and not just, random sections here and there. And the third thing I think is so important, and sometimes we don't, we give a lot of importance to it in, data collection analysis, but we just, when we are putting them into the research, we just throw them in the paper and we don't know where it goes, how we should connect it to the body of the paper, and then it becomes hard for the readers to read it. So you have to indicate when you are drafting the paper that where do I put this map or evidence or response. So for example, if you have a lot of maps, you would like to link it to the body of your research as an evidence. Okay, so you can see that so and so areas have concentrated poverty, or so and so areas have high population density. And then when you are writing that, you are writing that as an evidence. You are also referring or citing that particular evidence within your text. So you need to put the maps in the right location. Sometimes you may or may not have space to put all the maps, figures, tables in the right location, but try to be careful about the organization so that you are not just randomly putting maps and figures. Try to keep an order, try to put it in a place so that the readers don't have to go to the back of the paper to refer to a map unless it's an appendix. And then you also need to be careful about the citation, bibliography, and appendix, and because they are all the part of the evidence, and then you don't want to miss any of those while finishing up your paper. So you should know where it's going, what style of citation, what type of, where my bibliography section is going, and which maps and figures and tables are not very essential so that they can go into the appendix. So, you can have these different sub-arguments in the paper based on the anticipated response of the reader, right? Like I told you. So you need to also think where the sub-arguments are going. So essentially, here you need to remember two things under essential. Where are you putting the evidence? Where you are putting these responses, so that readers will not keep hunting for them in random sections of the paper. So that's all for today. And then we are going to talk about how do you refine your paper and conduct proofreading before you actually, start working on your last assignment, which is basically, submitting a draft and then submitting the final paper for your senior project.